What's happening? Pretty good.
These last two games, as far as red zone has been concerned, you guys have converted only 66% of your red zone drives with touchdowns. What do you think changed from the beginning of the year to where you've been more successful at that the last two games?
A little bit of it was the execution of the first and second down, like we talked about, I think, a couple weeks ago, and being able to shorten some of the third downs. But then even last week, being able to have that explosive play to Cam. It's definitely nice. If you don't have to go to a third down, you can just score from there, which makes it much easier. But really the execution part of it, taking care of the little things on first and second down, continue the drives, and then ultimately trying to throw it in from time to time from that distance out just to get the 6 points from there.
Josh, how much of that is due to you've got some stability on the left side of the line now? How much of that is a factor?
It definitely helps once you get guys back in their spots that they're used to playing in terms of their techniques and the communication up front. It definitely helps, but even when those guys weren't in there, it still came down to the execution of the guys that were in there and put them in a good position to go out there and make plays.
I know you weren't here when Baker first got here, but the talk was surrounding him with a lot of the receiving talent that's here, and but the longer he's been here, it seems like it's regardless of who's in there, he's elevating those guys, and his play just continues to elevate. Just what can you say about that in terms of in his phase of development as a quarterback, to be able to do that regardless of who's out there, he's going to just play at a super high level, and so are those guys?
I think it starts with Jason and Coach Bowles on the people that we bring in here, whether it's through the draft or through free agency, and that they are our kind of guys, and they're aligned with the culture and the love of football and the commitment to work and helping each other, and they're good players. So then when they come in here and they're like Cam or they're like Tez or even Mech, and they're willing to learn because they're great people, even in the walkthroughs and bake on the communication to some of the younger guys or guys that haven't played, they're locked in on their assignment for that play and how it can potentially be adjusted in the game. So that's why he has the utmost confidence in them, is because they're great people and great players, and they're willing to listen. And even if it didn't look good today or in a walkthrough, we can adjust it. And he feels like once we're on game day, we can go let it fly because they're going to be in the right spot.
And what has he done to kind of help some of those younger guys get ready?
It's constant communication. It's in the meeting room when we're all in there together and we're installing the plays. If here's the pass drawing, here's the example of the route, he'll speak up right then. This is how I'm seeing this. This is where I want you to be. Let's say it looks a little bit different in practice or a walkthrough. He walks up to him right then. Hey, I need you right here, not right there. And so they hear that, and then in the game, they have the confidence to go out there and execute it. So right when he sees it, we don't wait for that. It's right there. This is how we correct it. And then those guys are good from there in terms of making the correction and executing it on game day.
I want to address Taz and just that side route adjustment he makes. I mean, most guys, I don't know, maybe you expected him to go ahead and continue on across the safety's face or something, but what is that? What did we watch there with him and Baker?
That was two football players just playing ball, because it was not exactly how we drew it up, but the protection was able to hold up to give him that extra hitch in the pocket to get it done. And just playing ball, you draw up these things all night, all day, expecting this to be the look, and you attack it, and then that guy is just a hair wider than you think, or he rotated this way. Tez sees nobody there, mailboxes it, Bake sees it, and makes a huge play in the game at that point. So we can't be running cookie-cutter routes, and you got to be here, right there. The guy's standing right there. Let's go the other way. So it was really cool to see.
Just the ability for all the receivers to step up, whether it was Tez, Sterling, or Cameron when Emeka went out of the game. What does that say about this group?
I think it's the preparation they have, and especially what B-Mac's been able to do with them on some of these walkthroughs. Those guys are in here early in the morning. They're walking through in the afternoons as well. That way that if they end up in a spot where they didn't get that practice rep, they're ready to go. And that definitely happened with Cam last week on some of the things he might not have gotten, but Mech took during the week, and then in real time, you still got to run those plays. And we got the confidence in him to do it because we know that he's preparing, B-Mac's preparing him. That way, if his time comes, it's his turn to make a play.
What did you think of Tez early on? 150, they say, something pounds. Put his tape on in Oregon, he made plays. But what was your general impression, and what is it now?
We loved the guy from the start. When me and B-Mac went to Indy together and met with him during the speed dating, I think the 18 minutes or whatever it might be, and you could tell his personality then. We already knew he was a good player because we'd watched the tape. And then to hear him talk about football and his love of football and the detail that he gave on some of his routes there, which correlated to what we wanted to run here, we knew it would be a pretty good fit. And then to see him run the time at the combine was a little bit irrelevant, just because when you put on the tape, he was running past guys at the top level of football in college and making them miss. So you always hope that that's the case when they get here. And then once he got here and you saw him do it on the field and it shows up over and over, and he had the Buffalo game where his number was called more than some of the previous 2 games. I think he missed one of them potentially with an injury. But from there, it was just building the confidence, and now you can expand the route tree. You can do more things with him.
You have to be the most entertaining guy that you talk to.
Oof, that's tough between him and Shep. That's a good battle.
I'm talking about, though, during the speed dating in Indy, though.
Yeah, definitely in Indy. He was definitely the top one in Indy.
I mean, I realize that Shep in the locker room,
Right.
he's in a realm of his own in terms of just entertainment.
Right. Yeah, because there wasn't that many people we spoke with, but he was definitely the leader in the clubhouse there.
Did you know his story, like, the relationship he had with Bo, and Bo's dad's a coach and playing for him? Like, does that show up, that IQ, when you're this kind of in that family?
It does. I didn't know it going into it before we started meeting with him at the combine and trying to get into some of the history with going from Troy and going there. But you can tell that the communication he's had with Bo and how a quarterback sees it, and having that kind of dialogue for years now, that he sees it through that lens and tries to be in the right spot for sure.
Just as a coordinator, as a play caller, to be in week 7 as opposed to week 1, we're seeing more pre-snap motion, we're seeing more play action. Just ask you how confident you are to add complexity and put more on the plate of these players with each week.
You hit on it. It's now that you get a couple of games and you can add to some of the things we've done or plays off of plays to try to make them look the same and to still try to push the ball down the field, that does in our mind try to put pressure on the defense. And so we hope that's something that continues by being able to do that. We do think that the use of motion at least makes these guys communicate, even in louder environments like Seattle. It makes Seattle communicate. Even though it's loud for us, it's loud for them too, because the fans might be cheering for them, but the players still hear it, a lot like Detroit. So at the end of the day, we want to put pressure on them and continue to try to do that.
What challenges does the Lions defense pose, led by Hutchinson, for you?
Ton of challenges. He's a really good rusher. He has a lot of tricks. He plays really hard. He rarely comes out of the game. Some of these guys you play, they might take a few reps and they come off. He's out there. He's out there for 60 minutes essentially. And he's where it starts, but they're really good on each level of defense. I know they got some guys that are banged up. Ali McNeil is a fantastic player, getting him back from his rehab. The stack linebackers, all 3 of them have been there together for years. Their communication, they're on the same page. You don't see these guys cutting people loose. They know where they need to be, when they need to be there. And then the culture that Coach Campbell set and the way these guys play hard, they run to the ball, they're very physical, and they just play well together, so it's a big challenge.
With Gedeke out in that game and Aiden Hutchinson getting 4.5 sacks, yet you still walk away with a victory. Like, what did you learn about that experience?
Definitely. It was something that really can't happen. He needs to have the attention of the entire offense really on each play. And we were fortunate to come away with a victory. I think we scored 20 points and were able to win. It was a great job by the defense that day. But his play speed and what he does is something that we have to handle from the fourth quarter all the way through the first quarter all the way through the fourth quarter, and just know where he is, because he can definitely wreck a game.
For prepping you, though, for this moment as an OC, like – when the bullets are flying in a situation like that, I mean, you don't really have much time to adjust, but you had to figure out a way to make it work.
Yeah, a lot of that goes into the preparation that we have on Monday nights and Tuesday nights after we put the previous game to bed and move on to the next game plan. It's that, who are those game records that week and how do we handle them? And we try to do that through our first and second down game plan to include what we're doing on third down as well as the red area. That way, once you get on game day, you've at least had the thought in it that whoever that might be for that week, that you're trying to handle them that week.
How do you think the ground game has come along since Rashad's kind of had to take over the reins without having Bucky?
I think Rashad's done a good job. There was definitely some plays last week that were really good hits, and you can see guys getting a hat on a hat, and he made some tough runs. There was a couple of those short yardage runs where there wasn't much there, and Shad, he fought it out and was able to move the sticks and get us that first down to keep the drive going. But especially in some of the things that the 12 personnel groupings we were able to have last week with Cade and Payne, being able to be really physical and run right at those guys. So Shad's done a good job, and he's always done a good job, of course, in protection and in the pass game as well.
You mentioned,
Couple more questions, please.
You mentioned that they've got a banged up secondary in Detroit. They've got 4 guys out. When you have Mike Evans back in the lineup there, he often can dictate so many coverages and kind of personnel. How helpful is that going to be against a Detroit team that's missing a lot of its secondary, and what does that allow you to do against them on Monday?
Yeah, you never really know what the opponent's going to do. You have an idea going into it on some of the coverage structures and the personnel groups they play. But at the end of the day, they still got to kick the ball off and see how they want to play that week. But we know that when he's in there, he does deserve a lot of attention no matter who we're playing. And then once you get in the game, you determine how much attention they're giving to him or not and be able to adjust things off of that if it's something that they're really pushing the coverage that way or if they're just singling him up. Good. Well, good. Thank you, guys. See you.